Okay, hopefully this will make things easier to read, although I will warn you that my original for this assignment is not the greatest copy. The test will actually look better instead of worse. But I want to get you guys used to what this teacher made website, what you can do, how you can use it. So once you click on the assignment in Google Classroom, it's going to go to this site, this teacher made. It is probably going to ask you, do you want to sign in with Google? I was already signed in, and so it assumed I wanted to do this as me. So if you have multiple Google accounts, it may ask you which one. Please choose your Excel Center email. And then when you get in here, this is what you're going to see. Again, like I said, my copy is not the greatest, but it's probably still better. You can, by the way, make things larger if you go to this button up here. You can say you want to zoom in. Okay, so you can zoom in quite large. And then this box indicates a place for you to type. All right, so I'm going to kind of show you how to use the program and go through the review. All right, so dual duty. So list the domain and range. So our domain here would be 3, 4, 5, 6. And our range would be 2, 7, 12, 17. And then is this a function? And then notice it doesn't just say is it a function, it says explain why or why not in a complete sentence. Guys, I realize I'm not an English teacher, but I know that a complete sentence starts with a capital letter and should end with a period, unless you're really excited about it and you choose to use an exclamation. And it should have a subject and a verb. All right, so please. So is it a function? And I would say in this case, yes, it is a function because, all right, because each member of the domain, or you could say each X, is paired with only one Y, or one number in the range. All right. So what you say after your because might be the same or different. And of course, if it was not, I would say no, it is not a function because perhaps 4 in the domain is paired with 2 numbers in the range. Something like that. Okay? Does this mapping diagram represent a function? So remember, with our mapping diagrams, we want each thing in the domain to only be going one place. So for instance, I see this guy going 2 places. And if you want, you can, you do not have to, but there's a little pencil at the top. You can actually circle that too, but you'd still have to come down here and tell me what's going on. It's not going to let me type on there while I have that on there from my other program. So in this case, maybe I want to, this pencil makes a straight line. This pencil I can do whatever I want with. So maybe I want to do that. And then down here in the box, it's going to type. So no, it is not a function because 12 in the domain, is paired with 2 numbers in the range. Or if each one was only going one place, I would say yes, it is a function because each member of the domain is only paired with 1 number in the range. And then which of these is a function? So we're looking for the vertical line test. You guys didn't really see one like this one over here. This is not a function because there are two black dots on top of each other. And what you're going to do, I can just check mark that. If I check mark that one is a function. So these are little check boxes. If you check something and then you don't want it, you just uncheck it. I believe so you don't want any points on top of each other. So on your test, I may have given you a question instead that says, choose which one is not a function. So I've given you lots of things that are, and you're supposed to pick the one that is not. And then here, your graphs probably aren't going to look exactly like you would make them on paper, but we can get pretty close. This is where you're going to want to use this tool right here. It's going to make a straight line. So remember that the 3 is your Y-intercept. So I'm going to start at 3, and then I want to go down 5 and over 1. So if I start at 3 and I'm dragging it down 5 and over 1. Now if I want to keep going, I could keep going down 5 and over another 1. So normally I want your lines extended through the graph because they do, carry on, and they should be extended and have arrows on the ends. But because of the limitations of the technology that we're using, if you have just made a little short line, but you've used the correct Y-intercept and slope, then I will accept that. So for instance here, again, this is the one that's going to make my straight line. If you try to use this guy, the regular pencil, you'll be all squirrely. So -5, I'm holding it down while I go up 2 and over 3. And again, I could go up 2 and over 3 more. Up 2 and over 3 more. But if you just go up 2 and over 3, I'm not exactly sure where that cut me off. But it cut me off because I wasn't using the program where I write on my screen. I was using that actual program. So, anywho, what we did there, we're using this tool up here. So, if, as you're doing this, you are having trouble, then please be aware. Those first two were in slope-intercept form, right? The y was by itself, so we knew where to start because we started at B and then used the slope. But we start at B and then up and over for my slope. Second, use the slope for another point. So it is okay if you don't extend your lines, but you can draw a line on there using this and it will make it straight. The next two we're going to look at here are not in slope-intercept form. All right, they are not in slope-intercept form. They are in standard form, but we can graph them easily by graphing both of the intercepts. So remember, this is when we look at the x only, ignoring the y, and this would say x is -6. And if we look at the y only and ignore the x, y would also be -6. So it's going to cross, we're finding the intercepts, it's crossing the x and the y, both at -6. I had a little bit of a moment there. So it's crossing both of those at -6. And for the one at the right, the x would be 8, and the y, 8 divided by -2, y would be -4. So from 8 on the x to negative 4 on the y. I kind of missed the mark there on that one. Get rid of him. So negative 4 here on the y and 8 on the x. Negative 4 on the y and 8 on the x. And again, you can extend that. You want to try to extend it, but at least please make sure that I can see that it's crossing the x at 8 and the y at negative 4. And if you're off just a tiny smidge like I am, that's okay. I think I can tell what you were aiming for. Now, if it's way off, that's obviously not the same thing. And then down here at the bottom, you have one more to graph. In this case, it's only an x. So please remember, only x, it's going to be vertical. And if it were only y, it would be a horizontal line. So this is only x, so I go where x is negative 4 on the x-axis, and then I'm going to go straight up and down from there. Woo, whoopsie. Let's try this. So straight up and down from x is negative 4. So x is negative 4. Just try to trace that line. I'm going to trace it that way and this way. So I should have a vertical line. Again, if you were doing it on paper, we would connect, extend, and draw us some arrows on the ends. But since we have to use two completely different tools for that, as long as I can see that you are making that vertical line. Awesome. All right, so there's some graphing. And then here, this is in slope-intercept form, right? Y equals 5x plus 2. Remember, this is slope-intercept form. You are welcome to use any notes that you have. So this is in slope-intercept form. So since it's in slope-intercept form, the number in front of the x is the slope, and the number out there being added is the y-intercept. And we're not going to worry about the x-intercept for that one. So 5 and 2. Here, I want you to find the slope, the x-intercept, and the y-intercept. Now, just because something's given in one order doesn't mean that's the order you have to do it in. So I'm actually going to find these two first, because I can do just like ignore the y and think 3x equals 12, because if y is 0, that would be the x-intercept. Divide, then that would be 4. And if I make the x 0 to find the y-intercept, 12 divided by 4, y is 3. So I've got those two answers. And then after I have those two answers, this one was 3, or sorry, this one was 4, and this one was 3, and I'll type that in a minute. But after I have those two answers, then how could I find the slope? Well, if we could move it into slope-intercept form, we could find the slope, right? If I take the 3x and move it over, and then divide everything by 4. And honestly, I don't really care what the b turns out to be, although it's another way to get that answer. So negative 3/4 would be my slope. So my slope is negative 3/4. Discard, there we go. Negative 3/4. My x-intercept, we said, was 4, and my y-intercept is 3. Now we're looking at the graph. To find the slope, remember if it's going down from left to right, the slope has to be negative. And then slope is rise over run. So it's going down 1 and over 2. So negative 1/2. The X-intercept, where is it crossing the X? Well, right there at 2. Where is it crossing the Y? Up here at 1. So you don't have to do any figuring, you're just looking at the graph. And then here, ignore the part about the Y-intercept down here because this one turns out to be quite messy. But to find the slope, so we're just trying to find the slope using those 2 points. So this is my first X and Y. This is my second X and Y. Y. And we know slope. We're going to subtract the Y's on the top and the X's on the bottom. So then in this case, I have 4 minus 2 over 3 subtract negative 5. So 4 minus 2 is 2. 3 subtract negative 5 is 8. And then when we reduce, that slope is 1/4. And then that would have made a quite messy Y-intercept, which is why I said we're not going to worry about it. This is from me changing questions from the actual test to make a review and picking some messy numbers. So the slope there would be 1/4. And then everything on this page is going to be an equation in slope-intercept form. So all of your answers should look like y equals mx plus b. Right? Because slope-intercept form. So for this one, if I start out with 3x plus 2y is equal to 12, remember you'd want to get that by itself. I guess it doesn't let me do that. So then I would subtract 3x on both sides. Then I would have 2y is equal to negative 3x plus 12. And then everything would get divided by 2. So that would become y is equal to negative 3 over 2x plus 6. By the way, you do not have to type in your work, just your answer. So your work can just be on paper. All right, so this one says the slope is 2/3 and it crosses the y-axis at 0,4. So crosses the y-axis is just another way to tell me that that's b. So when it says crosses the y-axis at 0,4, that's telling me that b is 4. So this is just y is equal to 2/3 x plus 4. So here, the next one here, I will do something here with my other pencil. So this time, slope, remember, is m. This is an x and a y. So here, I don't know the b. They didn't just tell me where it crosses the y-axis. So I have to find b first. So if I start out with y equals mx plus b, again, you won't have to be typing that in. So 3 times 2 plus b. So 5 is equal to 6 plus b. When I get the b by itself, I find out that b is negative 1. So then this is my b, this is my m. I write my final equation, y is equal to 3x minus 1. All right. The next one is an application problem, but remember what we found last week, that the application problems were not nearly as difficult as we thought they might be. So we just have two numbers. We have to decide which one is the m and which one is the b, basically, because we still need an equation in slope-intercept form. Y is the total cost. So $70 happens one time, $30 per hour, and x is the number of hours. So 30x plus 70. So 30 is our rate of change, it's the hourly amount, and 70 is our Y-intercept, it's our one-time charge. And then from a graph, writing an equation. So again, I need to know what's my slope. So if I look 2 points, here's a point, there's a point. So it's going down 1 over 1. So my slope is just -1. And it's crossing the y at -2. So y is equal to -x minus 2, or -1x minus 2. And then we have one with writing an equation for a table of values. So I put bonus here. Just choose two lines, right? Choose two lines. 2 over 1, so my slope is 2, and then find the b. Or just ask yourself, if I'm doing y equal to x, what would I have to do to make it turn out right? So 2 times 3 is 6, but I want the answer to be 5. So I would need to take away 1. Double check to make sure whatever you come up with works for the other lines. 2 times 4 is 8, take away 1 is 7. 2 times 5 is 10, take away 1 is 9. Again, you could just treat it like 2 points and go through the whole process of finding b also. And then the last page, what is the slope of a line that's parallel to y equals 4x plus 2? So we just learned today that parallel lines have the same slope. So then it's just a matter of which of those two numbers is the slope. It's the one in front of the x, of course. So in the program, you would want to click that little button. There's a little dot there. That's what you would do to submit that, to choose that answer. If you do something instead, like circle the D, I'll figure it out, but that's what the little dots are over there for multiple choice. So this is like today's that IXL was giving us some crazy hard problems. So let's look at one of these. So I'm supposed to write an equation again in slope-intercept form. So I know that means I need to know what the slope is and I need to know what the b is. And then I'll be able to write the equation. So it says it's parallel to this. So parallel means the same slope, and the slope is the 4. Now that I've identified that, now I can find b by plugging in with my point. So this is an x and a y. So -3 is equal to 4 times -1 plus b. Add 4 on both sides. That's b is equal to 1. So then my equation would be y is equal to 4x plus 1. If it's parallel, it should look very much like this one, but with a different b. All right, so when you're writing a line parallel to something, It's going to look very similar, just with a different b. All right, so the next one down, and that's just another one where you're going to type your answer in the box. The next one down now, this one is perpendicular. So again, I need M and B because I'm supposed to do the same thing. I need M and I need B. But this time it says perpendicular. So this slope is -1/5. So that means the perpendicular slope I would make positive and then flip it over. So 5/1 or just simply 5. That's going to make stuff so much easier. So now y is equal to mx plus b. Now that we have m, we have to figure that out first. So 1 is equal to 5 times 2 plus b. Get that b by itself. So we get b is -9. So then my equation, remember it's the equation for the perpendicular line. So I need to use this new slope, 5x minus 9. And then the last line, last question, that you're going to see in the review. The last one you're going to see ask, are the lines represented by these parallel, perpendicular, or just intersecting? That would be like saying neither on IXL. All right. So and this has skip out here from a previous time, but I think if you've done that IXL lesson, this problem should be quite manageable. So what you need to do is find the slope for both of them. So find both m's and compare. So the second one is easy. It's just -3/2. The first one, we can't just pluck the slope off of that. We would want to get the y by itself. So if I move those 3x's over, 2y is -3x plus 12, divide it all by 2, and then remember this is the only part I really care about. So that's also -3/2. So then I see that they are the same. So both slopes turned out to be -3/2. So then I would say they are parallel. They have the same slopes. Or if they were opposite reciprocals, I would say they are perpendicular. Their slopes are opposite and flipped. If they were just different, like one was 3/2 and one was -3/2, I would say they are intersecting. Their slopes are different. Okay? Once you are finished, you can click this button that says Save for Later if you're not finished, and it will save your work for later. Their test is going to be the same way, okay? And then the right-hand side, you'll click I'm done, and that's when it actually submits. I'm going to click Save for Later for now because I'm going to go back into this during class. And then wait till it does the whole little doogie there. Okay, so that is how that's, and you'll see on my side of things, this is how this looks to me. It shows me that this person is waiting to finish. Like they've started it, but they didn't submit it yet. So if your name's not here at all, that means you never even got to the site. Which your name's not supposed to be here yet because I haven't released that to you yet. All right, so we'll do the tests the same way. So I hoped it would be a good plan to practice with that same process for the review. Obviously with the review, you could watch this video, take notes, and you should get everything right on the review. So please do so, and let me know if you have any trouble with the format or how to submit, or if you have questions, of course, about the material. All right, thanks. We're going to start systems on we're going to start systems also on Tuesday.